In the stillness of a quiet morning, when the world has not yet fully awakened, and the mind is not yet crowded with desire, there is a simple practice that has been spoken of in ancient whispers. It is not loud. It does not demand belief, and it does not promise miracles in the way the restless mind often craves. Yet those who practice it with sincerity find something subtle shifting within the way they see wealth, opportunity, and the flow of life itself. This practice begins with something ordinary, salt, a humble substance found in every home, often overlooked, yet deeply symbolic. Salt preserves. It purifies. It balances. In this teaching, it is not the object itself that holds power, but the awareness you bring to it. Take a small bowl of clean water and a pinch of salt. Hold it gently in your hands. Before you place it down, pause. Notice your breath. Notice your thoughts. In this moment, you are not trying to chase wealth or force abundance. You are observing the inner condition that either welcomes or resists it. As the salt dissolves into the water, reflect on how everything in life also dissolves and transforms. Fear dissolves when it is not fed. Scarcity dissolves when it is no longer believed. The mind, when steady, begins to see that wealth is not only in coins or possessions, but in clarity, discipline, and right action. Place the bowl somewhere clean and undisturbed. Let it remain there as a silent reminder throughout the day. Each time your eyes fall upon it, remember this simple truth. Life flows more freely when the mind is not clenched in grasping, just as salt spreads evenly through water. Intention spreads evenly through action when it is pure. Now turn inward and observe your relationship with money. Is it shaped by anxiety or by awareness? Do you see it as something that runs away from you, or something that responds to your state of mind and behavior? This practice is not about summoning riches from outside forces, but about aligning your inner world so that your outer actions become clearer, more confident, and more consistent. Wealth, in its deepest sense, is not only accumulation. It is the ability to remain steady in both gain and loss. It is the discipline to act without confusion. It is the courage to continue, even when results are not immediate. When the mind is scattered, wealth slips through unnoticed. When the mind is calm, even small opportunities become meaningful. The salt in the water slowly settles, just as understanding settles in the heart. Nothing dramatic happens. Yet something important has been set in motion. You begin to notice choices more clearly. You waste less energy on worry. You become more attentive to action, timing, and patience. In the days ahead, whenever doubt arises, return to this simplicity. Breathe, observe, act without desperation. Let effort replace anxiety and awareness replace fear. This is how stability is built, not through sudden fortune, but through repeated moments of clarity. And so the ritual is not really about salt, nor about water. It is about remembrance, a reminder that abundance does not enter a life already filled with turmoil. It enters where there is space, order, and understanding. If you walk through this week with such awareness, you may notice something subtle yet profound. The world has not changed, but your way of meeting it has. And in that shift, the idea of wealth begins to take on a quieter, deeper meaning. The first key idea of this teaching begins with the use of a simple bowl of clean water and a pinch of salt, which serves as a gentle reminder rather than a mystical object. In this practice, the salt is not treated as something that magically attracts wealth, but as a symbol that helps focus the mind on awareness and intention. When a person places salt into water, they are invited to slow down and become fully present in the moment, observing both the physical act and their inner state. The water represents the flow of life, constantly moving and changing, while the salt represents the thoughts and intentions we carry within ourselves. As the salt dissolves, it becomes invisible. Yet it still exists within the water, just as our thoughts and emotions continue to influence our actions, even when we are not consciously aware of them. This simple act encourages reflection on how small, ordinary moments can carry deeper meaning when approached with mindfulness. It is not the material ingredients that create change, but the awareness brought into the act itself. In this way, the ritual becomes a practice of grounding the mind, helping a person step away from distraction and reconnect with clarity, patience, and inner stillness before taking any action toward their goals. The ritual uses a simple bowl of water and a pinch of salt as a symbol of awareness, not a magical object for instant wealth. The second key idea of this teaching centers on the symbolism of salt as a representation of purification, balance, and inner clarity, rather than any external source of power. In this practice, salt is seen as a reminder that the mind, like water, can become clouded or clear depending on what is added to it through thoughts, emotions, and attention. When salt dissolves in water, it spreads evenly and cannot be separated again, which reflects how our inner states gradually shape our perception of life. If the mind is filled with fear, worry, or scarcity thinking, those patterns also dissolve into every decision we make, influencing our behavior without us fully realizing it. However, when awareness is present, these same mental impurities begin to lose their dominance, allowing a sense of balance to emerge. This idea encourages reflection on how important it is to maintain mental cleanliness, just as one would care for physical cleanliness in daily life. The ritual gently points toward the understanding that wealth and stability are not only external conditions, but are deeply connected to internal order. By observing salt as a symbol, one begins to recognize that clarity is created through mindfulness, discipline, and the willingness to release distorted thinking, making space for wiser and more grounded action in everyday life. Salt represents purification, balance, and the idea that inner clarity is more important than external objects. The third key idea of this teaching is the observation of how fear, scarcity, and anxiety dissolve when the mind becomes calm and aware, much like salt slowly disappearing into water. In daily life, many people carry hidden worries about money, security, and future stability, and these thoughts often shape their decisions more than they realize. When these mental patterns remain unexamined, they accumulate and create inner tension, leading to rushed choices, hesitation, or constant dissatisfaction. This practice invites a moment of pause, where one simply watches the natural process of dissolution as a reflection of the mind's own ability to release stress. Just as salt does not remain in its original form once it blends into water, fear also loses its sharpness when it is not continuously fed by overthinking. The act becomes a metaphor for understanding that emotions are not permanent states, but flowing conditions that change with awareness. By observing this process, a person begins to see that they are not controlled by their thoughts, but are capable of witnessing and reshaping them. This realization brings a quiet strength, allowing clarity to replace confusion and patience to replace urgency. In this way, the ritual becomes a reminder that inner peace is not something found outside, but something uncovered through attentive awareness. Observing the dissolving salt reflects how fear, scarcity, and anxiety can dissolve when the mind becomes calm and mindful. The fourth key idea of this teaching focuses on the understanding that true wealth is not only measured by external accumulation, but by inner stability, disciplined action, and emotional balance in all circumstances. In everyday life, people often associate wealth with numbers, possessions, and visible success. Yet this view can easily lead to instability if the mind remains restless or easily influenced by changing conditions. This practice gently shifts attention toward a deeper definition, where wealth is seen as the ability to remain steady when facing both gain and loss. A person with inner discipline does not become overly excited during success, nor overly disturbed during difficulty, because their foundation is rooted in awareness rather than reaction. This stability allows clearer thinking, wiser decisions, and more consistent effort over time, which naturally supports long-term progress. Wealth, in this sense, becomes a reflection of how well one manages attention, habits, and emotional responses in daily situations. When the mind is trained to act without confusion, even small opportunities can be used effectively, and unnecessary losses can be avoided. The teaching emphasizes that external prosperity often follows internal order, and without that order, even large gains may quickly fade. Thus, real abundance is cultivated through patience, discipline, and mindful action. True wealth is defined as mental stability, disciplined action, and the ability to remain steady in both gain and loss. The core purpose of the ritual is inner transformation, shifting from anxiety-driven thinking to clear, patient, and conscious living. The fifth key idea of this teaching is the deeper transformation that takes place within the individual, where anxiety-driven thinking gradually shifts into clear, patient, and conscious living. This change is not sudden or dramatic, but subtle and steady, unfolding through repeated moments of awareness and reflection. As a person engages with this simple practice, they begin to notice how often their actions are influenced by urgency, fear of missing out, or uncertainty about the future. Over time, this awareness creates space between impulse and response, allowing more thoughtful decisions to emerge. Instead of reacting to situations with tension, one starts responding with calm understanding. This shift does not remove challenges from life, but changes the way those challenges are experienced and handled. Clarity becomes more important than speed, and patience becomes more valuable than impulsive effort. In this state of mind, even ordinary tasks are approached with greater focus and intention, reducing wasteful energy and unnecessary stress. The transformation also reflects in how a person views success and failure, no longer as extreme highs or lows, but as part of a continuous learning process. In this way, the practice quietly reshapes perception, leading to a more grounded, stable, and aware way of living that naturally supports better choices and a more balanced inner life.